Hold up. Wait a minute.
Bruh.
Did you hit the like button? Drop some rabbits in the chat. Let's go.
Hit that like, hit that like. Welcome to the chat. Let's chit chat, hit chat. Hit that like, hit that like. Drop some rabbits in the chat. Drop some rabbits, drop some rabbits, drop some drop them, drop them, drop them, drop them. Drop some rabbits in the chat. Drop some rabbits, drop some rabbits, drop them, drop them, drop them, drop them. Drop some rabbits in the chat. Drop some rabbits. If you want the tea, come see me. Rabbit hole is the place to be for real news, not fake news. Celebrity news, breaking news around the clock. Real talk, best on the block. I rock, I rock, I rock, I rock. Real talk, best on the block. I rock, I rock. Hit that like, hit that like. Welcome to the chat. Let's chit chat, big chat. Hit that like, hit that like. Drop some rabbits in the chat. Drop some rabbits, drop some rabbits, drop some drop them, drop them, drop them, drop them. Drop some rabbits in the chat. Drop some rabbits, drop some rabbits, drop them, drop them, drop them, drop them. Drop some rabbits in the chat. Drop some rabbits. True crime is my specialty. Exposed in the industry. Unsolved mysteries. Sticking to reality. Fair use commentary. Talking about cults. Trying to get results. Exploring hopes. Exploring. Researching. Debunking. Investigating. Being nosy. Super nosy. Being messy. Being shady. Rabbit hole news. That's me. The chick with ADHD. Unmedicated. But quite educated. Hit that like. Hit that like. Welcome to the chat. Let's chit chat. Hit chat. Hit that like. Hit that like. Drop some rabbits in the chat. Drop some rabbits. Drop some rabbits. Drop some drop them. Drop them. Drop them. Drop some rabbits in the chat. Drop some rabbits. Drop some rabbits. Drop them. Drop them. Drop them. Drop them. Drop some rabbits in the chat. Drop some rabbits. Hit that like. Hit that like. Let's go. Let's go. Let's start the show. Let's start the show. Let's start the show. Let's start the show. Let's start the show.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Hello. Welcome, everybody, as I get everything situated. Hi, everybody. Good morning. It is February 4th. Happy New Year's still. Shout out to everybody. Welcome, everybody. Let the people come in here, get in here, and hit the like, as our intro song says. Good morning, guys. I hope you guys are having a wonderful, beautiful, it is really Wednesday. It's Wednesday. My goodness. Oh, man. So we about to get we got to hit the ground running, okay? Because let me tell you what had happened. I was live 4 times yesterday. So I'm in my mind trying to recuperate about everything that's happening. And then some news broke yesterday by way of Ashley Banfield. Oh, my God. First of all, shout out to Flojo who gave me the heads up about it. But some news broke yesterday that I was like, what? So prime suspect potentially is the son-in-law. Now we knew, at least when we started talking about this, very, very early on, right? When a lot of this was breaking, I'm going back and we said, this seems kind of targeted, right? Like a lot of what's happening seems very targeted. They knew her schedule. They knew Nancy's schedule. Something's going on. Never in 1,000, because we don't ever really want to think that way, right? Like we never want to think that, anything is possible, but we never want to go there, right? Because, family is family. You don't ever want to do that. So my understanding, son-in-law, okay, is Annie, Savannah's sister's husband, okay? So there have been so many reports, right? Yesterday, there was a lot of reports coming through. Yesterday we had an issue. We talked about TMZ and whatnot and everything that had, they had disclosed. And, what other sources had said as well about the ransom note, how they didn't really want that out there. And all of this has kind of happened. I guess for me, the biggest concern is that we are well over, several hours and days at this point that Nancy is gone and no update, right? No update. Some ransom note that might have been sent to some networks that didn't want to speak on it, but then TMZ dropped the information and everybody spoke on it, right? It looks like a lot of ransom notes were sent everywhere. So let's go back a little bit. Let's go back. The way that we were told this case goes is that Nancy was supposed to go to church and she didn't show up. How does she go to church? Does she drive herself to church? Does somebody pick her up to church? But apparently she was supposed to be at church on Sunday and she did not show up. So the concerned church community decides to, call family and, alert people, right? They start tracing her steps. The last person that saw her was Annie because Annie happened to have dropped her off, I guess, in front of her home between the hours of 9:30 to 9:45. Now, Nancy is described as somebody who is sharp as a tack. Okay? Very, very sharp. You're not talking about somebody that, needs constant supervision. She's 84 years old, right? She has people to help out and whatnot. Okay? But apparently, something happened. Blood all over the front of the doorstep that was posted. I mean, Brian Enton showed us that video. Shout out to Brian Enton. The Ring door camera is not there. Pacemaker stopped at a certain time. There is life, life medication. I don't think it's life altering, but life. She needs to take this medication to be okay. And if she doesn't after a certain time, I mean, it's life altering, right? It could potentially harm her. So this news breaks. Now, the search actually initially started Sunday evening, from what we understand. Sunday evening, the search started. Now, I'm looking at my calendar. That's why I'm looking on the other side because, dates are very important for me and I always have a calendar at hand. If we're talking about Sunday evening, here it is, my calendar. We're talking about the 8th, right? No, excuse me. No, not the 8th. I'm like skipping ahead. We are talking about the 1st. We're talking about the 1st. And the sheriff gets right on it. He's got search dogs, they got all kinds of things. They brought in the homicide unit already because guess what? What did they discover at the entryway? Blood. Blood was discovered right at the entryway. Whose blood is it? We didn't know at the time. Okay. Now the dogs aren't picking up a scent. This is Tucson, desert like. I mean, it's a very nice home. Very nice big home for, in my opinion, someone to live alone, but very nice home. It kind of gave me Gene Hackman vibes, to be honest. I even said this before. Blood was out in the front and in the inside too. You are so right, Ocean. You're right. So then these dogs, they're not picking up a scent, right? When we go live and we talk about it, I said, guys, if she was taken in the middle of the night, sounds like she put up a fight or something happened, whether inside the home or outside, maybe inside the home. Because the thing that the sheriff said is that she didn't go willingly. It wasn't like she didn't, to me, that sounds like she put up a fight. Something happened there, right? Guys, they have not been able to find this woman. And a lot of you guys have said, well, it's next to the border. Yeah, next to the border. Yes, there's that, right? There's this and that. It could be this. What did they ask for money? The sheriff didn't disclose whether there was a ransom. I mean, there were so many questions that were going. But one thing that we did, as far as when we covered this, we all agreed to is that it's weird that it's an 84-year-old woman, right? Very likely she was watched. She was targeted. Okay. And was she targeted because of who her daughter is? Right? She's a journalist. Anything is possible. Okay. So here we are today. And last night, I guess, Ashley Banfield went live. And literally this video has gotten, you're almost at 1 million with this video because people were like, what the hell? What? The bombshell information that was dropped on Ashley Banfield's channel. I don't think we were ready for it. Literally, we weren't. So we're going to watch some of this and we're going to review some information as well. Now, people have said that the son-in-law, Okay. There's more to this. And actually, let me put this out here because some of you guys even said it too, right? That there was something sketchy going on with the family makeout, the makeup of the family, the sister's husband, all that. You guys had this in the chat. And for me, because I don't ever want, listen, don't call me green. It's not that. It's just that even now, even though we cover a lot of true crime, we don't ever want to take it there. We don't ever want to think that somebody in the family could have done something. But at this point, we don't know. What do you guys make of it? Let's get started.
Sheriff Chris Nanos for the news conference today. Again, it's February 3rd, Tuesday. They held this update, but they didn't give a lot of information. They just said basically this is to answer your questions in the press. And I can tell you that we found out this is not a gated community. Okay, that was one report that came out. It's not a gated community. It's also very dark and there are no streetlights.
Not a gated community. Remember, we were talking about that. I said, well, that's a really nice community. Now, I did make the comparison, I've said it before, to Gene Hackman, because Gene Hackman, even though it's New Mexico, it kind of gave the same, a lot of bushes and trees and very secluded and isolated and, very easy to target somebody at the time, even though we know that that wasn't the case for Gene Hackman. Please note that. But, there was some interaction with people, but not a whole lot. She was living alone. They were living alone. She was also living alone. So, yeah.
So very hard to see anything that might have been driving up and down those roads. The properties are huge, right? They're anywhere between 1 and 4 acres each. So more rural, don't think city, lit up, neighbor to neighbor sees everything. Your ring cam can see the street. It's not like that. Not everybody's ring cam can actually see the street from where they are on these big properties. The sheriff today said Nancy Guthrie's life is in jeopardy. Could be a couple reasons he said that. Number one, medications were left behind in the home. Medications that she would need within 24 hours could be fatal. And it's now 72 hours since the last time she was seen. So that could be why he said her life's in jeopardy. Or he could have said it because I now have definitive sourced information saying that there was in fact blood inside and outside the home.
Shout out to the people in the chat who are saying that. Now, let me tell you guys something. Let me stop it right here because I was just sent a video, or at least what they believe to be the last time that Nancy was captured on video before she left. Shout out to Sylvia who gave me the heads up on this video. Let's look into this real quick because this is interesting before we continue on. So they're saying, watch Savannah's mom's last disappearance on today before reported missing. Let's get into this.
Came here in the 70s and you had been moving all around. What made you want to stay in Tucson and plant roots?
And so wonderful. Just the air, the quality of life is laid back and gentle. Yeah, I like to watch the javelina eat my plants.
But the best thing about Tucson is coming home and
Yes.
seeing you guys. Should we raise a glass? Prickly pear margarita. Cheers.
Cheers.
Love you.
Love you.
Well, Mom, you guys came here in the 70s and you had been moving all around. What made you want to stay in Tucson and plant roots?
And so wonderful.
She liked and loved Tucson, guys. It is very heartbreaking. Very heartbreaking. And she's loved. This is actually the same video right here where they're doing the cheers and she's got the prickly pear. Y'all see that? Why would they target this woman? What did this woman do? 84 years old. Probably happy to where she was at.
So blood inside the home is scary because we now know she was taken against her will. Kidnapped was what the sheriff told me last night when I did my episode before. So blood inside the home, kidnapped forcefully, taken forcefully. That could probably be part of the reason why her life is in jeopardy. And Brian Enton's going to show you the pictures of the blood outside the home that he discovered today as well. The media has helped generate a lot of leads, the sheriff said. That's really important. He said, if you've got any information, 1-800-CALL-FBI. 1-800-CALL-FBI. If you know anything, even if it's tiny, the tiniest thing can lead to the biggest thing. Sheriff.
Guys, and if you look, we talked about the home when we first reported on this. I said, guys, so easy to hide a car there. If she was dropped off, as they say, which that was also a question that I had. I said, well, how do we know she was dropped off? How do we know? Did she actually make it home? And it sounds like that, depending on the reports are how was the home left, right? Note that, like, there were items missing and whatnot. Excuse me. There were items left there, not missing, but clearly she made it inside the home. So then one of the questions that I had, I said, well, do we know that if she was actually, like, she walked to the home, to the doorsteps, or what did they do here? What did they do here? Did they just leave her there at 9:30, 9:45? Did they walk her up to the door? Did they just let her just kind of figure that out? Somebody could have been waiting inside that home. Easy to hide a car, and then it's dark, right? And you're talking about desert-like temperatures and stuff like that. I mean, it's a little bit different here. In footage, even if there is security cameras, doesn't always capture everything at night, especially in a desert-like environment, if that makes sense. Let's keep going.
Sheriff has said it's been helpful. They do not know what she was wearing when she was abducted, when she was kidnapped and taken from that home. They don't know if there were one or more kidnappers. Any indications she's still alive? Sheriff said, no idea. Can't tell you that. Is there a threat to the public? We were a little confused by the answer before. I think what he was trying to say was that we feel like this is an unusual circumstance. We don't think that this is going to be a serial kidnapping or whatever else has happened to Mrs. Guthrie, but there's someone out there that did this. So yeah, the threat is out there. He's not going to go as far as they did in Idaho early on and say there's no threat to the public, because Brian Koberger was out there for, over 6 weeks and he's a threat to the public, but it didn't feel like that. It didn't feel like there was no threat. It didn't feel like there was a big threat. So take that the way you will. Were there any valuables taken, ATM cards? Sheriff would not say. Sheriff wouldn't say, was there forced entry? I can tell you definitively, there was absolutely forced entry. The pacemaker information, they didn't want to talk a lot about it, but I will tell you, my reporting, my source says that the 2 a.m. separation, when the pacemaker stopped responding to the devices it was connected to, the Apple phone, the Apple Watch, that is the time they are narrowing down this kidnapping to. Yes, she was last seen at 9.
Look at the aerial view of this property, guys. Like, it's desert, but it's like very lush. Okay, look at the aerial view of it, and I'm astounded. And it's not like these houses are next door. Like, you're not going to hear your next door neighbor, bump into some music. That's how far apart they are. I have to wonder. You say, well, maybe he didn't have a key. Sheesh. Maybe he knew the property. More than one person? Think about it. And I'm speculating here. And I said this in the last live too. If she was knocked out, chloroform, knocked out, whatever, whether chloroform or just knocked out in general because they knocked her out. Let's just say that that's what it is. The body, the weight, even though she might be 100 and some pounds, that's still weight to carry. She wasn't able to walk herself out. And I'm sure that if it's an abduction, they're not going to be like, let's make sure we get her walker. No, right? Think about it. They're not going to make her walk. They're going to put her in a car parked there. There you go. And they take her off. Why the dogs didn't pick up a scent when they had search dogs there, right? Interesting.
45. But the kidnapping, they are pegging it to that moment, because that is when the pacemaker that's inside the girl, the woman, the elderly mother who was taken out of that house, it's separated. And so that is what they are now narrowing the disappearance time down to, according to my law enforcement source with knowledge of this investigation. Pacemaker separates 2 a.m. That's when they believe the actual kidnapping happened. The house was turned back over to the family yesterday after 6 p.m. Again, that would be Monday, February 2nd. They processed everything. Crime scene tape went up, done with the residents, turned back over to the family, but nobody washed the blood off the front steps up to the front door. And Brian Enton was able to go up and look at it because it's not a crime scene anymore.
It's not a crime scene anymore. People are giving shit to Brian Enton about walking up there. It is not a crime scene anymore. They cleared it. But the Ring door camera, this is the part that really, it's scary, guys. And look at the door entry. This is a very, how do I say this? Very specific kind of door entry. You know what I mean? Like, it's metal, right? If somebody's knocking at the door, they probably won't be able, because of the meshing, they won't be able to look inside your home, but you'll be able to look outside, if that makes sense.
Talk to Brian in a moment about that. I think I mentioned this before, but if I didn't, they are waiting for the camera information and very frustrated. Police are very frustrated by how long it's taking to get the Nest company. I learned that it is the Nest company. It's not Ring Cams, it's not Ring.com. It's Nest cameras that were out front that were smashed. They are waiting for the corporate Nest executives to yield that information back to the sheriffs. Listen, 72 hours. It's been a long time. I can understand why the sheriff would be frustrated that it's taking this long. This was at, again, 1:30 today. It's about 7 hours ago. So that might have happened in the last 7 hours. Maybe the sheriff has that camera information now. And with those cameras being smashed, right? That's evidence. All of that is evidence, right? What was the tool used to smash them? What did it look like? All of that. And so when Brian Enton asked the sheriff, the cameras are missing, and the sheriff wouldn't go there, clearly the police have taken those cameras smashed as evidence, and those are now in evidence lockup as part.
Does make you wonder if there was any like if it's smashed or whatever it is, if there's any like plastic from the camera that was left. Ashley Jade said, look at the blood, look at the way that it's pooled, kind of like droplets, right? Droplets. Ashley Jade says, oh, look at that blood, this isn't good. I mean, any thing with blood is never good, right? But the droplets, this is very interesting. And I think it's, if you ever study forensics and crime scene, it could tell you a little bit about whether this was, pulling that just kind of came naturally from her, or like somebody else, or, where did this come from exactly? It's not splatter, they're droplets. So as I'm thinking, as something happened to her there, she might have been knocked out. She could have been bleeding and was carried away. And that's the droplets of that.
For this investigation. But again, I can't reiterate enough how dark this area is. No streetlights, dark and rural. Whoever smashed those cameras could very well have been completely cloaked, and that may not help a lot. Maybe you'll see someone's gate. Maybe the exterior lights were off on the home. Who knows? Depends on what kind of Nest cam she has. Does it show night vision? I mean, there's lots of different levels that you can get. Who knows what information that will yield? Whoever smashed those cameras, what will we see? What kind of, right-handed, left-handed, walking up? What was the gait? Does it look like a man? Does it look like a woman? Hopefully that could have been ascertained before the cameras actually ended up being smashed.
Let me tell you something, and I'm going to put this out here because I see some folks in the chat saying this too. It hasn't been said, but I'm just going to call the elephant in the room. If son-in-law is prime suspect, this would be so messed up if sister knew what was about to happen, or if she might have been involved one way or another. And I hate to put that out here. Please note that. But I can't help but wonder the why. Somebody said life insurance policy, potentially, right? We don't know. I would hate for this to be the case of that, because that would be so messed up. And then not only that, like, Savannah reports on all kinds of things, right? But when she reports on true crime and stuff like that, like, to actually have this and be living it publicly, I'm gonna say it, because it's like, you don't just say so and so is the prime suspect. That just doesn't come out of anywhere, guys. And I'm telling you, when we first talked about this situation, I said, sounds like the sister was the last person to see her alive. Okay, cool. Nothing more than that. But I can't help but wonder that if the son-in-law is prime suspect, did she know or did she not know? That's what I have to wonder. Okay, I'm just going to put that out there. I have to. I'm just going to say it.
Very, very disturbing, because that is so completely planned, right? This isn't some random, drug addict who's just looking to rob a house. This is something far more premeditated. If the cameras, plural, are smashed.
More than
Whoever
one.
did this knew there was more than one. I am going to have all of this for you in exquisite detail in just a minute. I do have to just tell you this. I have sponsors that make this podcast possible. And
make sure you guys go support Ashley Banfield as well. And I know she has to stop, but I'm like, I don't want to hear about the sponsors. Shout out to her. Make sure you subscribe. By the way, while I'm stopping her for a minute, let me also shout out some people. Abby, thank you so much for becoming a member. Bella Peterson, thank you so much for becoming a member. Elry, thank you for the $1.99. Annie's vehicle was towed and seized for evidence. because that just happens to everyday people, right? Everyday people just get their car. I mean, people do get their cars towed, but seize for evidence. Remember, okay, let me stop. It was Annie who dropped her off, who last saw her that we know of alive, right? So this just, to me, it's like, Lord have mercy. I hope that this woman had nothing to do with this. I'm hoping, because this would be so just horrific, right? But I don't put it past anybody at this point. I'm gonna be honest with you. It's just too much. Elry, thank you so much for the 199. James, thank you for gifting 5 memberships. And Nebi, thank you for gifting 5 memberships. Thank you. Elry, again, thank you for the 199. Blood looks sprayed near the door, then forms into big drops. There you go. Thank you. It pulls, it collects. You're right. Thank you, Elry. And shout out to the gifters today. Let's keep going. Please hit the like button, guys. Support, share, do all those good things to support the channel. Okay, let's go.
And interesting, and may have been information tipped. I'll tell you that in a moment, and I'll show you the pictures from the sky. There was a chopper up ahead. So I'll tell you that in just a moment. But it was super fascinating that the sheriff wouldn't confirm blood evidence, but Brian Enton confirmed it outside, and I have confirmed it inside. There was blood inside the home. There was blood outside the home. So let me get to some of Brian Enton's amazing reporting as well before I give you a little bit more of what my law enforcement sources told me, especially about the prime suspect and the car that was towed. That's very, very distressing. Brian also learned about forced entry into the house, and he learned of the 2 alleged ransom notes. We're going to talk at length about that. One went to TMZ, one went to a local TV station in Tucson. We have thoughts. Lots of people have thoughts. Yeah. The sheriff has some thoughts, apparently. But I'll talk to Brian about that in a moment, and I will read for you what those are. I'm also going to tell you this, that the sheriff was concerned enough that he put out a statement with a QR code. Okay? Let me read this. Sheriff said, "We are aware of reports circulating about possible ransom notes, plural. It's ransom note, parentheses S, so a note."
More than one notes, okay? You should know. By the way, shout out to Ticket TV, because Ticket TV, I watched after I did my lives. Ticket TV said the exact same thing that I said about TMZ. I said, TMZ, you are something else. To put this out here, that's pretty messed up. It was crazy how we kind of said the same thing. And I happened to watch this live. I don't know what it was. We totally mirrored the same message.
Or notes regarding the investigation into Nancy Guthrie. We are taking all tips and leads very seriously. Anything that comes in goes directly to our detectives, who are coordinating with the FBI. We encourage anyone who may have information, any information or tips to share via this QR code. So he answered the question too during the press conference when he was asked about, were there ransom notes? Has anybody reached out to Savannah Guthrie or her family? Who takes an 84-year-old woman? What's the point?
Exactly.
It would seem like they'd want something. And he didn't say no. He just said the same thing that you just heard. We're looking at all leads. So they may have looked at the TMZ lead right before that press conference, and they weren't ready to say whether they thought it was legit or just some hoaxer. And maybe the Tucson TV station got one as well. It was a scam artist born every day. So, by the way, very illegal, very traceable. We'll get to that.
Very illegal, very traceable. So if anybody's playing, it could very well have been unconfirmed. TMZ did say it was unverified, right? Well, I don't know if it was unverified because they couldn't have talked to police at that time and they were trying to get a hold of them, or was it unverified because multiple people received it? While people are searching for Nancy, it is very illegal to do stuff like that. It is very illegal to be sending stuff like that. Like, you're literally taking from sources. If this is a hoax, if it's a hoax, we don't know what this letter looks like.
Okay. Savannah put out a post today, and the Today Show, obviously this is their colleague. I'm a colleague of Savannah's. I worked with Savannah for years. We've been friends for years. We've done charity events together. She's dear. She's very dear to me, and it's breaking my heart that she is down there where she grew up in Tucson, trying to find her mom. And she gave the Today Show a statement about where they stand at this point. This is how the Today Show aired it.
Chanel is in for Savannah once again, who remains with her family in Arizona.
Good morning, and that is where we begin this morning. The disappearance of Nancy Guthrie, Savannah's mother, and a beloved part of our Today family. Authorities in Arizona now saying the 84-year-old appears to be the victim of an abduction.
Overnight, Savannah posting this image on Instagram. Please pray. She went on to write, "We believe in prayer. We believe in voices raised in unison, in love, in hope. We believe in goodness. We believe in humanity.
Wow.
Above all, We believe in him.
She added, thank you for lifting your prayers with ours for our beloved mom, our dearest Nancy, a woman of deep conviction, a good and faithful servant. Raise your prayers with us and believe with us that she will be lifted by them in this very moment.
This is just so sad. Like I said, nobody I can you imagine? Like, it's just crazy. Nana Reba says, if son-in-law did it, in my opinion, his wife knew and was probably in on it. Was the two sisters close? That's the question that I think a lot of us have had. Nana Reba, I have to kind of wonder. Lord have mercy. It's so sad. You said I heard Savannah staying at her sister's house. I'd be going to a hotel. This just feels off. Not accusing anyone. But there's the other side to this too, right? She could very well be cooperating with authorities, and that's why she gave up her car, right? For it to be towed for evidence. They're checking every avenue, right? But I have a hard time believing that they would consider the son-in-law prime suspect without looking at you some type of way. Something doesn't sound right about this whole situation. Doesn't sound right. This whole thing at all. Not one bit.
She goes on to say, we need you. Bring her home.
And obviously, Savannah's not on the Today Show. She wasn't on yesterday either. And she will not be going to Italy to do the Winter Olympics. This is huge for Savannah. This is every 4 years. It is one of the biggest assignments. The amount of prep that it takes to do the Olympics, it's weeks and weeks and weeks of work. And she's not going. And someone is going to have to take her place and get up to speed and cover for her. But how heartbreaking that is that she's not going to be able to do that. And she will not be at the Winter Olympics at all for that coverage.
Listen, family comes first. You know what I mean? Like, it is what it is. Family comes first. I wouldn't be thinking, how can you sit there and think about the Olympics while all this is going down, right? Yeah.
Helicopters showed up above Brian Enton while he was doing a live report today, above Nancy Guthrie's house. And it was the sheriff's helicopter. And there was a guy hanging out of it. And it was low. It was low enough to see him hanging out of it and looking around. And that wasn't the only emergency vehicle either. I'm going to tell you about that when I talk to Brian. It was another vehicle that was law enforcement related. And it does speak volumes to what might have happened that sent those two vehicles out, the helicopter and the pickup truck. Tell you that in a moment. First, let me tell you some devastating stuff.
Oh, God.
So my law enforcement source tells me that the back door of the Guthrie home was the door that was left wide open.
The back door was the door that was left wide open. You said, Rabbit, the breaking news that was just on Sheriff said no family member is prime suspect. That is rumor and speculation. T, go get it. I'll check it out while we're reviewing this. Did they make a formal statement that it's not anybody? Because then why do we have this information here? But I'll check it out. Thank you.
Was it the point of entry? Was it the point of egress? Don't know that.
Ooh.
But it was open, wide open, and it was in the back, not the front. Brian Enton saw blood at the front door. So did a struggle happen at the front door? Was there a doorbell rung at 2 a.m.? Why was the back door open? A lot of questions there. But the back door, according to my law enforcement source, was left wide open. I told you already, 100% blood inside the house. My law enforcement source told me that police have now towed and impounded the vehicle belonging to Nancy Guthrie's daughter, Annie Guthrie.
I just got tagged on Twitter. Thank you. As soon as she's done with her sentence, I'm gonna show you what Twitter says, because apparently the sheriff is mad. Okay. He is blasting media, press, and everything. But let's have her finish to what she says.
This is important because you've heard that the last point of contact with Nancy Guthrie was when she was dropped off by her daughter at 9:45-ish at night on Saturday night. So Annie Guthrie and possibly her husband as well, Tommaso Cioni, were the last people to see her at 9:45 at night, Saturday night.
Okay.
Sunday morning, 11 a.m., church members reached out to the family. Hey, your mom wasn't in church. Not normal. She's always there. What's up? Family member goes over, calls family member or members, goes to the house, calls 911, and the investigation begins. But they have towed Annie Guthrie's car.
Okay.
And there is some connection to Annie Guthrie's car and Nancy Guthrie's son-in-law. That would be Annie's husband, Tommaso Cioni, age 50. from Tucson, Arizona, married to Annie P. Guthrie, Savannah's sister.
Ooh.
And my law enforcement.
Ooh. Okay, let her finish because I got to show you guys what the sheriff had to say. Okay, and I'm also hearing rumors that there might be another press conference. All right, so I'm looking into this too while we're live. Listen, we gonna get on it. Okay.
Enforcement source tells me that Thomas Ocioni is the prime suspect in this case. Again, law enforcement source tells me that Nancy Guthrie's son-in-law, married to Annie Guthrie, Savannah's sister, is maybe a prime suspect in this case. At the very least, let
Ashley says it's maybe. Okay, maybe.
Let me tamp that down, because sometimes it's the first person you're looking at, not prime as in there's no one else. Okay, so let's be really mindful of that. Families are always looked at first as well. It doesn't mean right away. Listen, Ed Smart was targeted for weeks as, without question, somebody they needed to look at.
All right, so let me stop right here. Okay. Shout out to the people that have tagged me on the Twitter. Thank you. Breaking 20 minutes ago. Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos blasts media reports that claim his office had a prime suspect in the disappearance of Nancy, stating that they are irresponsible and harmful to the investigation. Lord have mercy. Let's go right to the source right now. My goodness. 20 minutes ago, officially. Okay, I guess the sheriff spoke to local news. No suspect ID'd in Nancy's disappearance as sheriffs blast false news reports. The Pima County Sheriff's Department issued a statement. By the way, the statement is up on Twitter as well, so we're going to look at that here in a minute. They issued a statement countering reports that they have a suspect in mind for the disappearance of Nancy, Savannah's mother. Reports have circulated that they have a suspect who may be related to Nancy, but as of Wednesday morning, the sheriff's department said there is no suspect or person of interest in the investigation. Okay. Let's take a step back right here, all right? Why would Ashley Banfield's source tell her that there is and that they're looking? Here's the deal, all right? And I'm all for, listen, discernment 101, okay? But let me just say this. If you've been following true crime for many, years or whatever, let me tell you something. It is not the sheriff's job to confirm information with the public, okay? It is not the sheriff's job to confirm information with the public. Let's be very clear, all right? I don't know if Ashley Banfield's source is incorrect. I'm inclined to believe that there might be some information that she received, and because it's an active investigation, they have to counter that information, which we've seen that time and time again in investigations. Let me give you an example. Very quick example. Emmanuel Jarro case. Perkins operation. What did the Perkins operate? What did they say? The DA's office. There was no who put the Perkins operation information out first? Brian Enton. Immediately, Brian Enton got a lot of backlash. Oh, you're over here putting misinformation. Listen, then it was a month later that we found out that there actually was a Perkins operation. Y'all, the DA, the sheriff, all these people are not obligated to tell us anything. They're not obligated to tell us the truth of anything. Okay? So let me say this. I personally don't believe that Ashley Banfield put some shit out there just to put some shit out there. She might have a source, but the thing is that because it's an active investigation, and again, for the interest of that investigation, they're not worried about us and our need to find the information. They're not. They need to secure that investigation. So they are going to put whatever information, if they have to discredit somebody, they're going to do it. My experience since, whatever, ever since I've been covering true crime, we've seen it. That's one example, the Perkins operation. Let me give you another example. Nick Reiner, when they had the LAPD press conference outside, we covered that when all of that went down. Y'all remember? Nick Reiner, the LAPD held a press conference and they wouldn't they had already arrested Nick Reiner by the time that they had that press conference, but they wouldn't confirm who they had. And people were like, well, do we have a target? Do we not have a target? Again, they don't have to confirm anything with us. So for me, I wouldn't necessarily write Anfield's information off. Just my opinion, by experience. But you guys let me know what you guys think in the comments, okay? You all let me know what you all think in the comments, okay? And again, the article reads, reports have circulated that they have a suspect who may be related to Nancy, but as of Wednesday morning, which would be today, the sheriff department said there's no suspect or person of interest in the investigation. Detectives are working closely with the family. While we appreciate the public's concern, the sharing of unverified accusations or false information is irresponsible and does not assist the investigation. The 84-year-old was reported missing by the family on Sunday after they were informed that she did not show up to church, and her children last saw her Saturday evening at her home. Now, the sheriff said that it is believed that she was kidnapped that night. Okay, we know this information. Brian Enton was the one that shared the video with the blood. The scene is no longer a crime scene. It's already been processed. The area is no longer a crime scene. Even though they have blood there, you would think that somebody would have cleaned it up because people do hire cleaners for stuff like that. There's actual cleaners for crime scenes, but they didn't hire one. So yeah, you're literally walking right there. I mean, a reporter can walk up there and take pictures and see all this stuff. It's a real thing. But right now, we don't see this as a search mission as much as we do see a crime scene. This is what the sheriff said. Unverified ransom notes have also been circulated in the media. The sheriff's office said they are aware of them. Okay, so if you know where Nancy's at, of course, you're asked to call 520-882-7746. They added an additional number there. It's too many numbers on that phone number. Okay, anyways, let's get back to... I want to go back to the Twitter because people did tag me on this. Thank you so much for your tag. This is the Pima County Sheriff's Department statement on Nancy's investigation. At this point, investigators have not identified a suspect or person of interest in this case. Detectives continue to speak with anyone who may have had contact with Mrs. Guthrie. Detectives are working closely with the Guthrie family. While we appreciate the public's concern, the sharing of unverified accusations or false information is irresponsible and does not assist the investigation. No suspect or person of interest has been identified at this time. Let me tell you something. No suspect or person of interest has been identified at this time. I kind of side-eye this too because again, they don't have to give us an example or an explanation or a reason or anything. They really don't. But to me, I'm inclined to believe that there's a source in law enforcement who might have told Banfield and other reporters about what is going on and who they're looking at. We see this happen a lot, all the time. Okay, let's keep going with this report.
Possible suspect, right? Heartbreaking for Ed and Lois Smart because it wasn't them who took Elizabeth, right? But that's what happens when anything happens like this. Familial abductions, the families looked at first, and Annie and or Thomas O'Cioni were the last people to see Nancy Guthrie at 9:45 at night, the night before she disappeared, abducted, kidnapped. Okay. Kidnapped was the word that the sheriff used with me. But it's very distressing to think that this law enforcement source is telling me that Thomas O'Cioni is maybe a prime suspect in this case at this point, and that the car belonging to Annie has been towed and impounded and is in evidence.
Let me ask you guys a question. Why do you think publicly they would want to discredit this right now? One reason could be that it's absolutely false information and it's not true. Okay, I'll give you that. Why would they want to discredit this information? Another reason. Tell me, in your opinion, why do you believe that law enforcement would want to discredit this at the onset of this being put out? Why would this need to be discredited? Look, could be false information, like I said. Could be fake news, okay? But what would be the intent of that? You said there would be 2 investigating teams working the case. The sheriffs are not the leaders. They're the co-workers with the feds. Let me see. You say he only trespassed if there's no trespass sign, or he was explicitly told to not cross. because it's defamation. Okay, because it can damage the case. Okay, how do we know? I mean, listen, they could be sitting there in the room interviewing this guy, interrogating this guy, or people. Could very well be the case, right? If you are the last person to drop off mom who goes missing, she was in your car, I'm assuming, right? Like 9:30, 9:45, they're going to process your car. I would think that that would be like the next step. We're going to process the car, make sure everything's okay. Okay. I hope that there's no blood splatter found anywhere in there or anything like that that would lead us to believe something else is going on. That is my hope. That it's just a traditional, we're going to, check the car and everything, but you just never know. Natasha, I agree. I think that it would make sense to discredit something like that because it could damage the case. You said, I think the FBI is in the case, so they will do a electronic sweep to see if they get it. Barbara Bish, yes, the FBI is involved. We just don't know, right? Like they're going to find out. That's really what it is. They don't have him knowing. They don't want him knowing. Maya, shout out to Maya. They don't want him knowing they suspect him, or hell, even publicly. They don't want publicly colleagues, coworkers, friends, family, relatives. You don't want this out here. You don't want people to think that it's the family directly. Even though if you're looking for motive, I'm just thinking, unless this is really just a random kidnapping, abduction that just happened to this 84-year-old woman, and it was just what it was. Could also be the case. But Maya, I'm inclined to believe your comment. They don't want him knowing that he's being suspected. Which, if he's talking to police, if anybody's interviewing with police, I'm sure all of that is being tracked and everything. Maybe because he didn't act alone. The one. And don't want other suspects tipped off. Prediction, and I just, I speculated this. I said, it's kind of hard to think that somebody, not that it doesn't happen in an abduction, they do happen this way, but in this specific instance, for somebody to abduct an 84-year-old woman all by themselves, while there's blood, droplets in the entryway, the back door, based on what Banfield is saying, is open. Very, very difficult to just say, okay, it's just one person who did all this. Might have been one person in the house. I just think that it involved more than one person. The planning, all of that. There's a car there, hide it there. She's unconscious, knocked out, chloroform, or maybe she was just knocked out, whatever it was. Take her to the next car. Somebody has to drive the car. Somebody has to carry her. Multiple people. To me, this seems like it involves. And I have a feeling that we're going to find out a lot sooner than later, to be quite honest with you. The wave effect. Create more false leads. There you go, Ava. Absolutely. Law enforcement needs to keep their investigation close to the vest. Yes. Who cares about us getting information, the public? It's not, sure, public information, get your FOIA, all that other stuff. But right now, while the investigation is active, police can lie to you. Police can say different things to you. They do not care about the bloggers, the media, or anything. The focus is the investigation, as it should be, to be honest. They don't have to tell you everything, okay? They don't have to feed the need for us to know everything. So we got to really start using, thinking outside the box when it comes to the police and they're in an active investigation. You said when a suspect finds out they are a suspect too soon, it could cause evidence to be hidden, people to hide, or locations to change. Amanda, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Okay, sorry. I love the conversation with you guys. Let me hit play.
That's the word that was used with me. This law enforcement source also said to me, who has a motive to kidnap an 84-year-old woman? The way it was described to me is, that's a burden, right? It's a burden to kidnap an 84-year-old woman with mobility issues needing medication. That is a burden.
A liability. I think that's what people said in my chat. Now, where does the blood stop? So I don't know if Brian Enton caught this, and he'll probably talk about this a little bit more in his area, but if the blood, does it go to the dirt? Does it go down? Is there any more cement area? When they're walking up, hold up, let me see. Let's see. Okay, walking up right over here. Oh, I missed that part. But where does it stop? Where does it end? See, this is the walk up area. Here it is. Is there any more blood right here? Like, I would be curious. Whoever carried her has all that on their clothing.
What is the motive to kidnap an 84-year-old woman? The way it was described to me is that's a burden,
Drop load.
right? It's a burden to kidnap an 84-year-old woman with mobility issues needing medication. That is a burden. And then this law enforcement source said, so you look at people who would have a benefit to an 84-year-old woman going away, disappearing or dying. Sometimes it's somebody who has an insurance benefit from that. Sometimes it's somebody who may benefit because there's a debt. And that may be helpful. These are just musings. They are not evidence, okay? But they are musings from people I trust implicitly due to their longevity in the business of investigating this exact kind of thing.
Ooh.
I told you already about the pacemaker information. The law enforcement sources have narrowed it down to the kidnapping happening at 2 a.m. based on the pacemaker stopping at 2 a.m. That's when they believe Nancy was taken from that house. All forms of DNA were submitted, right? But the sheriff himself said that it came back. Like so far, the details that have come back have not pointed to a suspect, which tells them that it was likely Nancy's blood, not a suspect. Or at least nothing has come back yet to point to a suspect regarding the blood. My law enforcement source said that they will be searching every single cell phone ping, the geofencing, all the rest. This source told me that this is someone who knew where the cameras were, somebody who was familiar with this home, this premises, this woman. They knew where the cameras were in order to smash those Nest cameras, plural. Okay.
Target. Belen asked a great question. Do we know where they were coming from when they dropped her off? When they were out to dinner together or something? I do wonder what they did the day she was with them before they left her at home. I agree. I think that's a great question. What was dinner like? What happened? What was the conversation? What were things leading up to that time too? Always interesting to find out information. Again, this is targeted. Now, based on what Ashley Banfield is saying, she is saying that the back door was left open. So even though the sheriff didn't really describe the property and all this other stuff, like, because they didn't really describe what they saw. She just left her phone behind and her things, her medication that she definitely needs. There's a lot to this, right? Let me shout out real quick. Nebby. Shout out to James again. Nebby, thank you for gifting. Grain, thank you for becoming a member. Barbara Bish, thank you for the $9.99. And Fitz, or I say Fitz LA, Fitz LA. Thank you, my love, for your 1-year membership. Shout out to you, Fitz. Thank you. Now, I saw somebody's comment here that I was like, Lori Plays. Shout out to Lori Plays. Lori Plays, I don't want to misinform the people, but I think you're like former law enforcement, right? Put it one in the chat. Let me know. I'm not making this up. I feel like I know this from you. You said, I will say, even at my age, I can brush up against a door frame and start bleeding. I'm 21 years younger and my skin is fragile already. Lori Plays, I'm kind of curious in the chat I feel like you're former law enforcement. Sorry, I put you out there like that. But what are your thoughts as former law enforcement, if that is you? I hope I'm not making that up. I might be thinking of somebody else. Thank you. Look at this. I'm not. Yes. Retired deputy sheriff. Okay, Lori Plays, let me ask you a question in the chat. Do law enforcement officers lie in active investigations to the public? Shout out to Lori. First of all, Lori Plays, thank you for your service. Many, many years. Shout out to you, Elry. I'm former Ellie. Thank you. Thank you for your service, Elry. Thank you. That is the question. I mean, do law enforcement lie when there's an active investigation? I mean, no, they wouldn't. They wouldn't. Tell me. Let's keep going with this video. I'll wait for Lori Plays' response to this because I'm kind of curious.
And as far as the TMZ ransom note, my source says that they don't believe that this is real. They think it's just troublemakers trying to insert themselves into this story. Could that change? Yes. Just want to give you a little bit of information on Thomas Osioni, Annie Guthrie's husband, whom At this point, I am told again, maybe a prime suspect in this case. He's 50, from Tucson. His bio from a website that's an Italian website, an official Italian website for the Taparulan Society, Cultural Association, the Taparulan Cultural Association, a nonprofit focused on promoting contemporary artists.
Ooh.
His bio says, I was born in San Giovanni, Valderno on June 18th, 1975. Since 2006, I have lived in Tucson, Arizona.
Now, I will say, plain devil's advocate, if this man did not do anything and somehow he just got blasted, if this man did not do anything and somehow he got blasted, Lord have mercy, that would really suck. And his MO is all the way out there. Like, that would really, really suck. Let's be very 1000 and be very clear. But let's just say, by the way, Lori Play says, we do not release information in active cases. Meaning, and I'm assuming you also don't have to confirm anything. You don't have to confirm, you don't have to deny, you don't have to say anything. That can be detrimental to the case. And yes, the only thing we cannot lie about is being a priest, as in hearing confessions. Officer can't pretend that they are a priest at a confessional, taking confessions on Sunday. So yeah, like, thank you, Lori Place. I shout out to my beautiful, wonderful former law enforcement, and thank you so much for your service. You're always welcome to reach out to me. Thank you so much, Ellery. Thank you. Shout out to everybody, and shout out to my lawyers as well. I have a lot of lawyers in the chat as well. My beautiful, wonderful Franny Law and my wonderful Vicky, everybody. Let's hit play on this.
I write when I have the chance. I study lizards. I play the electric bass. I make homemade pasta. LinkedIn reports that Thomas Ocioni is a teacher at Basis Oro Valley School from 2007 until present. Says he's a primary instructor for 6th grade science and AP biology. Reverb Nation, that's a music website, says that he put out an album with a 3-man music group called Early Black. Music is apparently available, but that's all I know about Annie Guthrie's husband, who, again, one law enforcement source, very connected, highly regarded, impeccable credentials, knowledge of this investigation, says that Tommaso Cioni, Annie P. Guthrie's husband, may be the prime suspect in this case, and Annie's vehicle has been towed, impounded, and is now in evidence.
Wow. Okay, hold up. Now, the one and only Queen Bee. Now, I thought we were talking about Queen. Shout out to Queen Bee, by the way. You're talking about, you said, I don't know your email as my aunt lives 2 houses down and a tow truck took dark blue Honda SUV and my aunt filmed it. Can I send you the video? Sure. You can send me the video. I have to watch it before I put it out here. Let me give you my email. If Ahmad can drop the email, but one and only Queen Bee. This is the email. I was seeing, did you see the Queen Bee's comment? I'm like, I don't know. We know Queen Bee from, True Crime. Shout out to Queen Bee as well. This is the email. Hit me up. And I'm also seeing the email dinging on my end as well. So I don't see anything yet arrive, but I'll keep an eye on it. If you want to send me something, send me something. Shout out to K-Mac. K-Mac, I haven't seen you in a while. Hope you're doing well. Just for your info, I'm not that horrible YouTuber with, stop. I love Queen Bee. We're not doing that. Shout out to everybody. But you can message me up over there in the email. Thank you. I just saw it now. Thank you. Y'all, we just try to keep it on the true crime stuff, please, and thank you.
Very distressing. So Brian Enton is with me from News Nation. He's been doing some incredible work since landing on the ground in Tucson. Brian, you have done, again, some outstanding reporting out in front of Nancy Guthrie's home. When the crime scene was turned over to the family, you found a blood trail.
Yeah, we did. And I was kind of surprised, Ashley, that it was not a crime scene anymore. I don't know why. I just expected that they would still have some tape outside. When you cover these things, they'll have like one police car that stays behind. Everybody left. I mean, it was just empty, except there were some, what I thought were family members coming and going today. I don't know who they were. So we decided, let's just go knock on the door and see if anybody is home, just to kind of see what's going on, since it's not a crime scene. It's all open back up. And so walking up to the front door, you could see that there was blood right outside the front door on the ground, like on the stoop right there, right near the front mat going in. Just, not a ton of blood, but it was definitely blood. It was all right there. And then when you looked up, you could see where the camera was, right by, almost like where it looked like a doorbell, but it was a camera, and the camera was gone.
Well, and my information from my source is that those cameras were smashed, not just the front one. There was a second one. Whoever did this knew there were 2, smashed them. So presumably the fact that you saw that they're gone means that the police took them for evidence.
Took them for evidence, potentially, or somebody misplaced them. I did see Dorothy. Actually, I have that queued up as well. The Rabbit, I saw a statement from Savannah's ex-husband. He claimed that his ex-mother-in-law had a problem with walking during sleep. That's interesting that that's what was claimed. I saw something as well. Let me see if I have it. I think I do as well. Now, the person, Queen Bee, if you're going to send that to me, completely up to you. The email is there. You don't have to, but if you do, please let me know. Yeah, I saw that statement. It was given to like Fox News, and then it was given to other sources as well. I don't know what that means in terms of like her. Are they trying to assess her ability, whether she would just walk like that, like walking during sleep? I thought she had mobility issues. Yeah, so that I'm kind of curious about that. You say you sleepwalk. I mean, I think sleepwalk is literally you know, can people sleepwalk during mobility issues? I don't know. You guys let me know in the comments. Okay? Let's see. It seems odd to be upset with reporters and not the employees talking to reporters off the record, says Yanni. Yeah. I mean, it's a lot. You said he will tell you it goes no further than the walkway. Yeah, I kind of wonder. You said police talk to reporters off the record all the time. They do, and they will report on it without revealing the sources. It's not necessarily responsible on the reporter's side. The employee is different. Yes. This is not new. You have reporters that have law enforcement sources. It's a thing. I mean, it's a thing, y'all. It really is. Let's keep going, okay?
Yeah, well, what's interesting though is when I asked I was at the press conference and I asked the sheriff, we noticed that the camera is gone in the front. Do you think the perpetrator took the camera? He said, we noticed that too, and all of that is under investigation. So it was kind of strange. Like, I don't know. He didn't give me an answer. Like, was it the perpetrator who took the camera? Was it the police who took the camera? But he acknowledged that they also noticed that the camera was gone.
Mm-hmm. I think he's having to answer in real time to, investigative information and evidence that he doesn't want out there, probably. And having to, tap dance in front of live cameras, which is really hard. I mean, this is a small place. Tucson has barely had, massive crime. I think one of the biggest things was Gabby Giffords, like, 15, 20 years ago. So this is a lot. This is a big crime for them to process. And
I don't think the sheriff I said this before, I don't think the sheriff was ready for any of that, honestly.
Media attention is sort of stifling. It's really, really hard. Let's just talk a little bit about that blood trail a little bit before we go more into the cameras. But you find the blood trail at the front door. The front door is closed. At least it is now. My law enforcement source has told me the back door was wide open, which sort of gives you just so many questions. Is that where the perpetrator came in? Is that where the perpetrator went out with Mrs. Guthrie? Did Mrs. Guthrie answer the front door at 2 a.m. and there was a pitched fight and that's why the blood is there? Because I think you mentioned the blood doesn't go further out along the stones to the driveway.
Yeah, that's right. We looked and it was just in that area near the door. It's not like there were droplets that went out to where the driveway is or even in the driveway, which made me think, I mean, did they take Miss Guthrie out the front? And like you said, the back door being open, maybe they came in the back and took her out the front and into a car. And maybe that's why the blood just stopped right there. We just don't know.
They were back door open, left open. It wasn't left open by law enforcement. It was just left open. That's how it was when they went to the crime scene. The back door was open. They got in there. I'm just trying to figure this out. So if they're saying that, did Nancy, my understanding is how the sheriff said this was that she was in her bed. They think that she was basically dragged out of her sleep and all of this went down. They left the back door open after they left with Nancy. Okay. Even if, here's my thought, another thought. Let's just say that the son-in-law is not the prime suspect. Could other people have been hired? Could other people have been put together for all of this to happen? Like, I'm kind of wondering about this.
I'll tell you this, in my half-hour-long conversation with the sheriff last night, I said, so you think that perhaps when you say Mrs. Guthrie was taken out of that home, she did not walk out of that home, are you telling me she was carried over the threshold of the front door? And he said, I did not say the front door. So that was a clue to me. Wait, okay, not the front door. And then I learned today that the back door is open. So I am very curious. There were some erroneous reports about Mrs. Guthrie was dragged from her bed. The sheriff actually put out a statement saying that is not what I said. So we, at this point, the sheriff was walking back anybody who reported she was dragged from her bed. We don't know if the bedroom was, the epicenter of this crime yet. We don't know if there's ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, and Mrs. Guthrie comes down at 2 a.m. What's going on? And something happens at the front. But why then would the back door be wide open? It's very, very confounding. Why would the blood be in the front, but the back door is open? Or did they, like you said, come in the back door, go up to the bedroom, but then take her out the front?
Yeah, and I'm just looking behind me because there's more cars in the driveway now. Step out of the way. You see that white Volvo, and then there's a truck. I think they maybe brought security people in to just kind of keep an eye on the house. But one thing that you don't know until you're here.
Now, they're not even blocking the property, right? They're not even blocking the property. People are kind of coming and going in this area. Okay. I find that to be very interesting. Even though it's not a crime scene, right? That reporters can go in there, but the way Nancy's house is set up, it's literally like there's a walkway to the front door, and then it sounds like there's a driveway for the car. So they're not blocking this area for people. People are coming and going to that area. They're parking their cars near that area. I'm kind of curious about that. In the sheriff's defense, most go their entire careers without this high of a profile case. It's true. On the job training, like, you got to learn as you go. That's what I was saying. I was like, I'm not really, like, I know people were, mad at the sheriff. I said, y'all, like, the guy is very soft spoken. He sounds like he's got his political beliefs. Who doesn't? Whatever. But you could tell that he wasn't ready for something like that. He wasn't ready. I mean, when they had the press conference yesterday, they didn't even have chairs for the reporters. The reporters have been like, they're sitting on the floor. So keep that in mind. All right. They weren't ready for something like this.
Didn't realize is this isn't like a normal neighborhood, Ashley. It's right in the foothills. Every house I would say is on at least an acre, maybe 2, 3, or 4 acres. They're almost like little ranches. And it's pitch. We've got our lights on for, because we're doing our camera work, but it's pitch black out here. There is not one light out here. And it's a ways to the next house. So I'm just thinking if they came in through the back door, to take her out the back door, though, it's not like there'd be a little alley back there. I mean, there's like cactus. This is not, it's like kind of wild land out here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But whoever smashed the cameras maybe thought it would be an easier way to get in the back door to smash a camera without being seen, go in the back, and then maybe smash the front camera from the inside of the house coming out. Who knows? I mean, but whoever it was, my law enforcement source said they knew there were those cameras and where they were in order to smash them. We're getting to that in a bit, but helicopters overhead while you were doing your live shot earlier today. Talk to me about that.
So I'm surprised that there wasn't any like plastic residue or something from the cameras. Or anything like that. I'm kind of curious about that. You said the entire through the back, they may have been forced to exit through the front because she ran to the front door. We don't know, right? The way they're describing this crime scene, the way they're saying things, it's just so interesting. We don't know what it looks like. The sheriff did try to walk some things back here and there, but she didn't go willingly. When I hear somebody, law enforcement, say she didn't go willingly, she didn't take her items, possibly, the area is like disarray. Maybe she put up a fight. She didn't go willingly. She didn't just walk out of the door and say, I'm going to get in this car because you asked me to, or this is all has been out there. So I do wonder about this. Yeah, I think it's interesting. Verbiage interesting.
Yeah, that kind of came out of nowhere. All of a sudden, there was a sheriff helicopter that got very, very low over the house with 2 men looking out and down. And my first thought was like, sometimes they'll just kind of come look real quick, and then they'll leave. But they stayed for over an hour over the house, and then across the street, and then in like kind of, again, it's almost like fields out here, but with a lot of cactuses in the vicinity of the house, very low, looking around. And then we saw a search and rescue truck out here, which we hadn't seen all day. So I don't know if there was kind of like, hey, we left some stone unturned and we just want to go back out and look one more time, or if there was a specific tip that came in, something specific that they were looking for. But it was very clear that they were looking for something. Because again, at first I thought like, oh, the helicopter's doing a pass. The sheriff's office just wants to show the eye on the area. But no, they were searching for something.
Yeah, and I think Jennifer Coffendorfer mentioned they might have gotten called a tip, and they were out trying to find whatever it was they thought might be within the vicinity of the house. Or maybe they thought whoever took her couldn't manage for too long. And maybe there was something in the wilds. Like you said, it's pretty rural out there. The other thing that's upsetting, and I don't want to think this, is that, if you're going to leave a body somewhere, there's so many wild animals in that area at night. It's very, very hard to keep the integrity of a potential body if there is one.
Aside from that, too, please note that wherever she is located now, she is nowhere in the area there, because when they did the search Sunday night, there was no dog scent. They searched a lot before Monday's press conference. They had like a mini press conference that Sunday night, and I don't really think people were picking up on the news until literally Monday, which is when we went live, when we talked about it. I think that, again, if the dog scent, they looked all over the terrain, this area, right? And there was a whole map of it. I honestly think that if she was left out there, the dog would have picked that up. Nothing. I don't think she's in any of these areas at all.
Intact for a long time with all the wildlife. And let's hope that that's not the situation. The ransom notes, let's talk a little bit about that. One to TMZ that was detailed about what she was wearing, details inside the house, and then asking for Bitcoin. And another one to a local TV station. Let me see which one it is. I think it's KOLD TV.
The Bitcoin part was crazy. I don't think I've ever seen, well, maybe I don't know. Maybe that's a thing now. But if these ransom notes were real, which sounds like a lot of people are saying that they're not real, the ones that were sent to the news and the one that was sent to TMZ, they're all the same. And they were describing details about what she was last wearing, which is a little eerie and everything. But the Bitcoin part, that's traceable, right? So why Bitcoin? I think that's what a lot of us thought. Well, maybe it's a scam. Bitcoin is a real thing, but that kind of gave us the red flag.
In Tucson, KOLD, yeah. My law enforcement source says he's not putting a lot of stock in that. There's a lot of crazies out there that want to insert themselves. But what are you hearing from where you are?
Yeah, so you mentioned with the TMZ note, we learned that in the note, there were some specifics about what Nancy was wearing and then specifics about the inside of the house, but we don't know if those are true. I mean, like that was just coming from TMZ. We don't know if it actually, is going to check out with what she was actually wearing.
Yeah, like TMZ got it. Like TMZ got that.
And it was an email, by the way.
In an email, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
But is it just some lunatic who's going to be traced to charged? That, and also the sheriff said that they don't know what she was wearing. So how could anyway? That's part of the idea here, is that emails can be traced.
How did they not know what the sheriff? Okay, said anyways, the sheriff didn't know what she was wearing. Okay, let me stop right here. If she was kidnapped in bed, I'm assuming she's got PJs on, right? Which is what was initially put out there. Or at least the thought was that she was kidnapped, unwillingly left, half asleep. I'm thinking that's how it went. PJs. But people do know what she was wearing because her daughter and others dropped her off between 9:30 and 9:45. I mean, they could give a description about what her last outfit was, or at least what she was wearing at the time. They just don't know what she was wearing at the time that she was abducted, which could have been PJs. I don't know, sleepwear.
Yeah, they can be traced. I don't know. I think the whole thing is a little weird. Like, why would the kidnapper reach out to TMZ? And then I noticed that TMZ, Harvey Levin, was saying they were having a hard time getting in touch with the sheriff initially, which I just found to be kind of strange if the sheriff was taking it that seriously. But the sheriff's office did put out a statement later acknowledging these and saying that they were investigating. Yeah, there it is. And when I was at the press conference earlier, we asked, have there been any ransom notes? And I thought it was interesting. Again, the sheriff didn't answer the question. He just said, we're looking into every. And yesterday he was much more open, actually. I mean, you had him on your podcast. He was all over the place. He was answering every question. He was kind of like hard to follow it sometimes. I'm like, he was talking about his gut feeling about things. And I'm like, is it really what he's saying actually factors? Anyway, but today he was much, much more careful.
Yeah. And obviously, like I said before, they're a little bit new at this. I mean, they don't get this kind of stuff going on in this rural area in Pima County. But, upsetting just to think that somebody, if it's true, maybe trying to insert themselves. Let's get to some of the other breaking stuff that my source told me that's just kind of blood curdling, that they did indeed find blood inside the house. You found the blood outside the house. The confirmation from my law enforcement sources that there was blood inside the house as well. And that they have towed Annie Guthrie's car. Annie Guthrie being Savannah Guthrie's sister and the last person to have dropped Mrs. Guthrie off at 9:45 the night before, but that they have towed and impounded her car into evidence. That is sort of the ground shook when I learned that.
Oh,
that's interesting, because we had heard that the FBI was at the sister's house, the Savannah sister's house, earlier tonight. In terms, I hadn't heard the towing of the car, and I just kind of assumed like they were over there talking to them, trying to get more information about, what was going on in Nancy's life in the days up to this. But yeah, the towing of the car, I'm trying to sort of wrap my mind around the reasons that they may have done that.
I mean, I guess I can understand. I'm trying to think of all the reasons why it's not a big deal. And
Right.
it's the last person to have seen Nancy Guthrie. My law enforcement source says, who takes an 84-year-old woman with limited mobility? It's a burden for the kidnapper to do so, unless someone has a vested interest in gaining something from it, like insurance benefits or a family debt that needs paid off, anything like that. This was just the
Drug-related, insurance benefits, a debt, something to that effect. Pat, is it Pad Boat? Why are you mad at Nancy? Oh, Ashley is your friend, and this is your friend's mom and her family. If you're wrong, you are causing more harm than good. Look, I get that, but here's the other thought that I had. I personally don't think that Savannah is talking to everybody, but they are colleagues. So it wouldn't surprise me if she was talking to Ashley Banfield, Nancy Grace, or any of these people in the back scenes, knowing that this is now a very much high profile situation, a very much nationally, internationally conversation that's happening, a case that's being discussed. I think that Savannah is probably very well aware of that. Now, how does she feel about it? We don't know. Maybe she is being consulted. We don't know, right? I guess we'll find out when things happen. We'll definitely have to talk about that in a different live. I just heard too that he was in court today, so I'm curious to know about that.
musings, not the evidence of this investigator. But the other sort of earth-shattering information that this source told me is that Nancy Guthrie's son-in-law, Annie's husband, Thomas Ocioni, is now maybe considered prime suspect in this case.
Wow. Yeah. So I haven't heard the most, like I said, the most I heard was that the FBI was at their house earlier today. I haven't heard that at all. I don't know much about them. I mean, I think they were the last ones with her, right? On Friday night.
Two reports that Annie dropped her off, or that Annie and Tomaso dropped her off. It's a little unclear, but this law enforcement source specifically pointed to her car being towed, impounded, and in evidence, and the son-in-law, Tomaso Cioni, age 50, may be the prime suspect in the case.
Well, and it would make sense even if they hopefully did absolutely nothing wrong and this is their mom, and it's like makes your heart hurt. I mean, I feel terrible for everyone in the family, but it would make sense that they don't want to leave any stone unturned. So even if investigators are thinking like, we don't think these people had anything to do with it, but the fact that they were the last ones with her, she was in that car the night before, like maybe they're just going to check everything regardless.
It's very uncomfortable, but that's the case, is that they have to leave no stone unturned. You said it's ironic how invasive the press has been. Savannah is a huge media person. Definitely very ironic feeling. I would agree, right? Like you're literally there as well. You said apparently we do not know for sure the blood is Nancy's yet. It might have come from the person. I think that they had cleared the blood situation. Now, I want to say something real quick. Somebody said something, where do they go to dinner? Yes, that would be a great question. We don't know. Somebody made a really good comment here and I missed it. Dang it. Next time I just have to put it up there because I really like their comment. She said, I hope that she would know better than to discuss private info regarding her mother or her mother's life. That's a great comment. Yeah. But I do have to kind of wonder if she is in conversation with these people. And again, these people, they have a job to do. They are going to report. If this was, God forbid, and I'm like I said, because this can happen to anybody, right? It could happen to Banfield. If this was Banfield, she knows that people would be reporting on it. She would, a lot of these reporters would be aware of that, right? So I think it's important to kind of note that. There was somebody made a really good comment and I missed it. Damn it. I'm gonna have to go back. Okay, let me hit play on this.
And that, my source said there's a lot of familiarity. This kidnapper had a lot of familiarity with his home, with the 2 different Nest cams that were smashed. And that they said an 84-year-old woman with limited mobility is not an easy person to kidnap. There has to be a benefit in some way. You think about a break-in. No, you caught me breaking into your house. Now you've seen me. Well, you don't typically kill someone and take the body or take the live person with you. That's not usually how a burglary that's foiled ends. It's far more complicated and odd. The mystery is more. It just takes you in a different direction. Your thoughts, anyway. The other thing is that my source said they are obviously looking at all cell phone pings and geofencing to find out what was in that neighborhood. This is the kind of thing that, trips up just about anybody. It may have tripped up Dr. Michael McKee in the Tepe murders. He left his phone in the hospital, but the car was seen. Brian Koberger shuts his phone off right as he's leaving and puts his phone back on right as he's returning home, right around the times of the murders. These are things that some people just don't think about.
Yeah, and it's not just phones. I was talking to a FBI agent who just retired actually from this area earlier, and he was reminding me that it's iPads, it's like all sorts, it's iWatch, it's all sorts of electronics now. Yeah, that can track you. And he was emphasizing to me that is the number one thing that the FBI is doing right now, and that they can literally like narrow it down in such a way through the cell phone towers to who was right in this area, and then try to follow that device. And he thinks that's really what's going on behind the scenes right now. And there's also just like questions about, do they have a suspect that we just don't know about? I mean, I was thinking back to Brian Koberger earlier when you and I were talking every night, and it was like, gosh, these police, they don't seem like they know anything. And then come to find out they knew a lot.
Yeah.
Do they just have their poker face on in these press conferences and they actually know a lot?
And it's true. They do. I mean, that has to be, we have to be kept in the dark about things because they've got to keep the suspect in the dark about a lot of things,
And this is why it would not surprise me that the sheriff came forward and has said that there's no crime. Now, the comment was, it's coming back to me. Somebody asked the question, is he considered, again, the sheriff is not saying this, is he considered a prime suspect or a person of interest? A prime suspect those are two different things, I would think. Two different things, right? So if I'm hearing prime suspect, I'm hearing somebody who police have identified that definitely, they've connected, right? One way or another, either through DNA, either through the timeline, one or the other. A person of interest is just that. And I think anybody can be a person of interest, even somebody who didn't necessarily commit the crime, but might have been aware of something's going on. Yeah. So I think that there's two different definitions in that.
Super interesting, though, just about the fact that family members are always number one. Like I mentioned earlier in the podcast, Ed Smart was like one of the number one, suspects in the disappearance of his daughter, Elizabeth, because does the boogeyman really come into your house and steal your daughter out of her bed beside her little sister? I doubt it. Well, he did. The boogeyman did come in. Brian David Mitchell did come in and steal Elizabeth, and it wasn't Ed Smart. But the way law enforcement works is you have to start from the inside of the concentric circles and then work out to any potential other suspects. So if this ends up being prime suspect, but not the only one, and we're just eliminating him, that could definitely be the case. But I also feel like, would you tow and impound the car of Savannah Guthrie's sister, of Nancy Guthrie's daughter, and if there weren't something bigger to it? I mean, it's very loud. It's a very big move.
Do you think it's strange, and you've been in the bigger media world more than I have, like, do you think it's strange that Savannah Guthrie hasn't said anything? I mean, could that be an indication of maybe some drama in the family behind the scenes?
A statement was enough. I don't think she should say anything at this point whatsoever. I don't think that it would benefit the investigation at all. Yeah. You said you are a person of interest until you aren't or become a prime. Yes. Again, it's two. Person of interest is someone investigators think may have relevant information about a case, may have, might have been aware, time frame. They're not charged. They may be a witness. A person of interest can be a witness, or someone's behavior that would raise questions about, the way they move and they do things. Okay. There is no legal weight. It's not like you're a person of interest and you can't travel. No. Even when you're a suspect, it's not even like that. A prime suspect. So this carries a little bit more weight because the people that are investigating are likely to believe that you had something to do with the crime based on evidence that they're reviewing. Okay. So yeah, two different titles, two different meanings.
So many things could be happening there. If I were in Savannah's shoes, I would be mute. I would be, catatonic. You're a big media person. This massive thing is swirling around you. You don't even know what to say and what not to say.
Exactly.
You have a million friends in the media business. Everybody wants a comment from you. And the police may have just said, we'd like you not to say anything. And I know Savannah. Savannah is a lawyer. She is a long-studied crime reporter. I met her at Court TV. We worked together at Court TV. She is brilliant. And so Savannah will be doing the smartest things to aid in this investigation. She will do everything that the police are asking her to do. and she will not go rogue. I know that.
Yeah.
And I don't know, the other aspect of that is that if the FBI was over at Annie's house, they've towed her car, they're looking at her husband. If I were Savannah, yeah, that would be enough for me to just say, I need to just stay out of the limelight. I need to stay out of everything.
Yep.
Yeah, it makes sense. I was just wondering about that because if there is a family dynamic here, might be a reason for her to, like you said, just sort of stay quiet. Although I hate to even think that. I mean, I hope that's not the case. I know you have your source, but it's like, gosh, that's just terrible.
I was interviewing Ed Smart and Lois and having to ask them about that. It was awful and so awkward and so uncomfortable. But I do understand it's how law enforcement has to work. They can't ignore that, or they wouldn't be doing their jobs. What about the neighbors? Have you heard from anybody out there?
Yeah, we've talked to several neighbors. People loved Nancy. We're hearing a lot of that. I mean, she lived here since the early 90s. I think 1992 is when she moved in, which a lot of people were saying, oh, Savannah probably bought her the house. It's a really nice house. I mean, apparently not, because she's lived here for a long time.
Here's the question that I have is that I heard that some of the neighbors didn't even know she was related, or she had this, that her daughter was who she is, So it's kind of interesting to hear. Like I said, I heard that some neighbors didn't really know, like that her daughter was who she was. They knew Nancy, they just didn't know the daughter like that, if that makes sense. Okay. And the report, because you guys said it in the chat too, Savannah's husband or ex-husband, I thought it was the ex. This was yesterday. It says husband. I'm pretty sure it's the ex. Speaks out on missing mother. Hold up. Because there's an ex-husband that also spoke out, which I was like, oh, really? Yeah. I'm trying to find the direct report and I don't see it here. I'll have to switch that out here in a minute. Let's keep going here.
So a lot of people know her. And people are on edge about the whole thing. The police have been to all of the neighbors' houses. There was one neighbor who told me police have been there twice looking for videos. Yeah. So it seems like, we've done other stories where you show up and you're like kind of surprised, gosh, how are we the first ones here? That doesn't seem like the case here. People have been going to all the different neighbors' houses. There was one neighbor who told me that they were even trying to talk to the landscapers, because there's a lot, there are really nice houses out here and there's a lot of like landscape crews and stuff. So they were talking to them because they kind of know the area. So yeah, people have been cooperating with the police for sure.
Well, I remember a case, Nancy Woodrum in Paso Robles, California, well over a decade ago. Elderly woman disappeared from her home. It was this sort of freaked me out a little because it seemed so similar, but it ended up being a painter that worked at the house. So they will be canvassing. And I think the sheriff did say that to me. They're canvassing every single person, from caretakers to landscapers to pool, service contractors, etc. Anybody who had any kind of connection at that house, that would be absolutely number one. They would do that right away and get alibis and check for DNA. The other interesting thing is, Brian, that the sheriff today said that they have tested some of the DNA that was discovered at the house, but that nothing that's come back so far has indicated a suspect.
Right. They confirmed that the DNA connected back to Nancy, which I guess is no real surprise. She lived in the house, but they wouldn't say what. Was that blood that was tested? Was that blood outside that was tested? I do too. Yes. I do too, but they didn't confirm it.
I mean, you're seeing blood outside that's it's still red. I could see your video still red. You're testing that. You're testing that right away, because what if there was a pitched fight and a knife was being used and, the assailant was cut?
What is it? Defensive wounds. You said, I do find it odd that this happened right before Savannah was supposed to go to the Olympics to report. Huh. Right? Do they have security cameras? Yeah. And they have been removed. You said, I think you're right. Inheritance or just her refusing to give them more money? Something's going on. So many questions, right, Helena? So many questions. Literally, we just don't know overall. Why her? For what exactly? How long she had been watched? There's just so many unanswered questions to this. I would agree.
Be mixed blood. So that would be the first thing but it was devastating to hear that so far nothing's come back, indicating a suspect. This is going to be a hard one. This will be a really, really hard one. Like you said, it's so dark out there and so rural, and it's not like a lot of ring cameras and license plate readers are going to lead to whatever vehicle, and I do say vehicle. Nancy Guthrie couldn't move more than 50 yards on her own. She needed to be conveyed in some kind of a vehicle.
I wonder if they already have a vehicle description. Because, with the FBI being involved so early, and there are traffic cameras out like on the main road out here, and they're just not giving it to us at this point for a specific reason.
I wouldn't doubt it. They're going to look at every single vehicle that was in that area and find out who they were, where they were, who they were with. That's not tricky. That's what led us to Dr. Michael McKee in the Tepe murders. What am I missing?
here's and this is what we said, Tammy, right? I mean, anything is possible. It could very well be that the law enforcement source was wrong for Ashley Banfield and he is not a prime suspect, right? It could very well be the case, and that would really suck because you got everybody looking at you and it could affect you later on. At the same time, I'm also more inclined to believe Banfield's source because law enforcement is not going to tell us anything, especially if it's going to intervene with an investigation. They're not going to confirm. They will discredit as long as the investigation is ongoing. I mean, that's what they've done, and we've seen it multiple times.
I think you covered it pretty well. I mean, we hit the ransom. The blood is really alarming. The cameras, which you had new information on. I don't know if you caught the press conference, Ashley.
I did.
It was a little strange. I mean, there was not a lot of new information. The FBI was there for the first time. They had the special agent in charge of Tucson who was there along with the sheriff. The FBI was not there yesterday. I thought it was interesting. The sheriff started by saying, well, I said some things maybe I shouldn't have said yesterday. And, I had to do all these interviews. It was just kind of strange. I thought, like you said, I guess they don't deal with that a lot here. And then
I'm telling you, and it's interesting because there is an article that was released this morning. I'll show it to you guys as soon as this is done. People. And the title of the article says, Sheriff believes Savannah Guthrie's missing mom, Nancy, is alive. We want to save her. And I'm going back to the first press conference, and it was kind of like, well, we're looking for a recovery. This is a recovery now. And then there's more information that got leaked. And the following day, there was something else. So this is, I don't know, man, but the FBI is involved at this point.
Thought it was interesting that he said, next press conference will be Thursday.
That's right.
Yeah.
No updates unless needed.
Correct. And I was just like, okay, kind of like nothing to see here, everybody. It's just a little odd, I thought.
You know what? I thought it was strange when he said no updates until Thursday, until something happens. And then when I got my information from my law enforcement source, I thought, oh, yeah, maybe it's because you do have your prime suspect. And that's why you're saying we don't need to do any updates right now. I don't know. Again, it's a great, impeccable source that I have, extraordinarily connected to this. So, and somebody who's very high in law enforcement too. So I don't have any reason not to believe that. I do want to mention that there was dispatch chatter, which was super interesting. Dispatch audio that was like dispatch talking to responding units.
Nancy, a white female, 84 years of age, 5'2" medium build, powder blue. Nancy has high blood pressure, pacemaker, and cardiac issues.
Saying that there was high blood pressure medication, a pacemaker, and cardiac issues. So they seemed to know.
Ooh, okay, this is new to me. So this is the dispatch call. Let me go back a little bit because we were pacemaker, high blood pressure. Okay.
And cardiac issues.
Saying that there was high blood pressure medication, a pacemaker, and cardiac issues. So they seemed to know right away, even before they got there, that there was some medical issue with this missing person. Maybe that came from the family. Yeah. Really.
Well, and you've heard right about the pacemaker connecting to the iWatch, and she was charging her iWatch in the room, and they were able to review the data in the iWatch. And the last time the pacemaker connected to the iWatch was at 2 a.m. So that's sort of how they've been able to, I just want to look again and see what. Yeah, it's interesting. This must be security out here.
And taking pictures just to say what things look like out there. My source said to me that the separation from the pacemaker at 2 a.m. is the time of abduction. That's what the police believe. They refused to narrow the window for us in the press conference today, but my law enforcement source said, yes, it's 2 a.m. That's when they believe she was abducted / kidnapped. The sheriff said kidnapped to me. I don't think there's a big difference. And that they believe.
Oh, you said, I find it very strange that the daughter Annie looked around the house around 11 a.m. for quite some time after bailed by even calling law enforcement from the sheriff's own mouth. Yeah, I'm telling you, something ain't right about this whole thing. And I think that many of us, are we going to be surprised? What are we going to do? How are people going to land with this? Military Ma said that if she goes missing, please send everybody out to look for her. Lord have mercy. Let's just hope that doesn't happen. Okay. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. We don't thank you. And then I rocked. You said, we have a 911 thing that you can sign up for and give them important information. Right. Interesting information from that dispatch call.
That it absolutely happened at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. Which would make sense. And again, just as dark as it is out here, I'll just show you. Like if I pick up my camera, my phone, or my, I mean, we have all our lights, but look like down the street, Ashley, it's like, you can see what it's like out here. It's like totally pitch black. So
Only thing you can see are the vehicles. That's it.
yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Makes it real hard for an investigation, Brian. My God. Well, listen, you were unbelievable today in what you were able to I mean, I think the blood trail is some of the biggest news that's come out of this, as well as the notion that that Annie and Tomaso's vehicle is being, has been impounded, is in evidence, and that they may be considering him a prime suspect. It's very.
Now she's saying they may be considering them a prime suspect, may be impounded. Again, if that was the last vehicle that she was in, I'm not surprised that they would have collected it to check for anything. I think that would make sense.
Very disturbing. It's very distressing. But listen, thank you, because I know you're so busy. Every single show on News Nation you've been on, and updating them all, and just getting your crew out there, fantastic. Dave and Mo, congratulate them for the work they're doing as well. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate this.
Yeah, it's always good to see you, Ashley. I'll see you.
You
see
too.
you probably tomorrow. All right.
All right, hold up. Now, I want to move over here. Is this the sheriff walking back information? This is the question that I have for you guys. This is an article dropped today, about maybe an hour, 2 hours ago. Sheriff believes Savannah missing mom Nancy is alive. We want to save her. Authorities believe Nancy was kidnapped from her Tucson, Arizona home over the weekend. Okay. So let me scoot down over here. Nearly 72 hours since Savannah's mother, Nancy, was first reported missing, authorities remain hopeful that the 84-year-old is still alive. We have nothing else to go on but the belief that she is still here. Okay. And it further says it's a new interview that he did with NBC Liz Kurtz, which aired on the Today Show Wednesday today in the morning. She presents, she's present, she's alive, and we want to save her. So the sheriff is saying okay. Again, I feel like we're getting a lot of mixed messages. My hope is that that's the case, right? But sheriff is saying she's present, she's alive, and we want to save her. However, authorities have been upfront about having no suspects as they continue to search for Nancy. The leads we've got coming in are crucial to us. They're valuable, and we're sharing those with the FBI and others. FBI is involved. We know this, okay? Authorities believe Nancy was kidnapped from her home in the night, sometime between when she was last seen by her daughter Annie on Saturday, January 31st at about 9:30 p.m. Now, here's the question. Was it just Annie that dropped her off? Were there anybody else in the car with her that dropped her off? I'm kind of curious about that. And when a friend from church called her family to report that she didn't attend the next day. And while it is believed that Nancy has been abducted, police have admitted that they don't have any details beyond that assumption. No clue, says the sheriff, of the amount of potential kidnappers during a press conference on Tuesday. It could have been one, it could have been more. A trail of what appears to be drops of blood are visible on the front steps of Nancy's Tucson, Arizona home, along with the remnants of an apparent Ring camera that had been removed from the front door area. People previously confirmed. The Pima County Sheriff's Office has not responded to requests from people for comment about the apparent blood trail, and it is still unclear whose blood was found at the home. Police have noted that Nancy has no cognitive issues and is very alert, though she is not in good physical health. Okay, so we now know that she takes medication. There might be some cardiac issues, as we heard on that dispatch report. Audio. Nancy has mobility issues and takes daily medication crucial to her survival. She has now been without her medicine for days. The 911 call reporting Nancy is missing revealed that mother of three has high blood pressure, a pacemaker, and cardiac issues. Okay. So we know Savannah won't be going to the 2026 Winter Olympics ceremony. All of that has been pulled because of, what is happening, which again, I think we've got to prioritize this, right? If our family is missing, parents are missing, we're probably not going to want to attend any events. I think it's good that they're investigating the daughter and son-in-law thoroughly. It makes sense since they were the last, period. I mean, this happens a lot, right? Like that's not a foreign thing. If husband or wife goes missing, typically they're looking at one or the other, and they're questioning and they're doing all the things that they're supposed to do to ensure that there's no foul play or anything else at bay, right? It makes sense that they were the last person to see her. I would think that that would make sense. Now, the question that I have, was it just Andy that dropped her off? Was anybody else in the car or anything like that? That is the question. Okay. That is the question that we have at this time. Now, so far, I'm going to do a quick little rundown if there's anything else. Mary Carrillo is going to be doing the Olympics opening ceremony, just so people are aware. She's been replaced. Interesting. There's a Border Patrol elite unit involved in the search for Nancy as well, just so people are aware. A couple more details that are coming out of media. Let's see. Signs of Force intro. That was 17 hours ago. Okay. Let's see what else we got on the media that is coming about. I heard that there might be a press conference, but that wouldn't be smart to have another press conference, in my opinion. I don't know. But let me just double check on something, because I want to make sure that it's not the case. Nothing yet. I heard that people were saying that there would be a press conference, but I don't think that that's the case yet. Let me double check one area as well. Just making sure that people are up to date on everything. Press conference. Okay. No, nothing is scheduled yet. Okay. So I'm definitely going to keep an eye on that. If there is a press conference, I'll definitely let you guys know, because we will be live on it for sure. Yeah, I think a press conference again would be a little too soon, unless they have something to say that's like pertinent and breaking. But I have to kind of wonder about that. You said, did the break-in happen before Annie dropped off mom, or was someone inside waiting for her? That's the question that we've all had for sure. All right, guys, I am definitely going to let you guys go, because I got to go and tend to baby bunny. It sounds like we got some news that we're going to talk about on a separate live regarding Neo from the Celeste Rivas Hernandez case. D4VD, David, apparently there was a court appearance, but I want to hold a separate live for that and really dedicate some time to that. Make sure you guys check us out. Thank you so much for supporting the channel today with a like, a super chat, a membership, gifting, all those. Y'all are amazing. Thank you so much for making this channel possible. Shout out to everybody that subscribed, to the new subscribers, new supporters. Thank you. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Make sure you guys check us out live later today. Bye, guys. Have a good one. Bye, guys.